Hi guys, my name is Star, and today I wanted to talk about something very serious. Excuse me. And what topic I want to discuss is basically my experience in a pro self-harm community. Keep in mind, I never told anyone about this. I've only told one person about this, but I don't remember who I told. But then me and that person stopped being friends because I found out that they were also in the community. That's why. And they were competitive with me in regards to self-harm, but we're not going to talk about them. But so when I was younger, if you guys haven't seen my experience of self-harm video, I'd recommend getting it, go check it out on my channel. But basically, I thought I was the only one who self-harmed. And then when I was 14, after my suicide attempt, my self-harm got worse. And I discovered the term pro self-harm on Tumblr. And I went on Tumblr. Never go on Tumblr, by the way. It is absolutely rampant with pro-Anna content, pro-self-harm content, pro-bulimia content, pro-hating yourself content. It's just a bad place. Never go on Tumblr. And if you have a Tumblr account, delete it now. Tumblr refuses to do anything about what's going on there, too. Not only that, but there's a lot of child predators on there. There's a lot of zoophiles on there. It's just a really horrible place. And thankfully, a lot of people did leave Tumblr, which I am very thankful for. But pro self-harm is basically when you promote self-harm and you are anti-recovery. Basically, you glorify self-harm. I'll show you guys a few examples of pro self-harm content.
Know myself and make things fair. See, I just hated being tired. I can't seem to sleep anymore. And you and all your friends were all right about me all along. And do you sleep anymore?
Not gonna lie, it was pretty difficult to find some examples of that because Tumblr has been trying to, quote-unquote, trying to remove them. But when I looked it up on Tumblr, pro self-harm on Tumblr, not long ago, for this video specifically, they don't ban the content completely. They will give you a warning that what you're about to see is graphic, but they never banned the content, which is completely unacceptable in my opinion. As someone who is was a self-harmer and still struggles with that shit, imagine if someone like me who has struggled with self-harm spiraled back down because of something triggering that happened, and then they go and try to find the tag, and then they end up getting essentially brainwashed into going back into that community. That's extremely dangerous. And Tumblr, you should know better than to allow that shit on your platform. And as for the people who are in that community, before I talk about my experience, if you are in that community, get the fuck out of that community. Get the fuck out of that community. It is super bad for your mental health, and you will regret some of the actions you take in that community. I know because I have said and done some shit that I will have to live with for the rest of my life. And unfortunately, in the self-harm community, a lot of in like the pro self-harm community specifically, we would often bully each other and tell each other, well, you're not a true self-harmer unless you go deeper, or you're not a true self-harmer unless you burn yourself, or you're not a true self-harmer if you like certain things about yourself. Like, this community is absolutely horrible. Like, get out as fast as you can. I know it's hard to, like, get out of that toxic ass mindset, but you need to get out of that community. It's not worth it. It really isn't. Take it from someone who is an adult now and is permanently mentally fucked up because of that community. Get out of that community as soon as possible, please. I am begging you. It could save you from so much pain. So, how long was I in the pro self-harm community? If I remember correctly, I think I was in the pro self-harm community from ages like 12 to 15. So 13, 14, 15. It was 3 years that I've been in that community. And it really, like, I wasn't really ever ready to talk about it until like recently, because I discovered there were other people who went through the same thing as me. So at like 15, I managed to get out of the community. And before you guys ask, no, I'm not making myself the victim, because unfortunately I did a lot of things that a lot of other people in the pro self-harm community did, which was tell people that they're not going deep enough. Like, I am definitely not a victim, but I definitely was hurt by the community, if that makes sense. But basically, a lot of people in that community would make it a competition of who could hurt themselves the worst. And it was really horrible. It was toxic. It was horrible. It was emotionally draining. It was triggering. It was traumatic. It was just horrible. And usually a lot of people in that community didn't make it out alive. Like, a lot of them did commit suicide. A lot of them died from eating disorders. A lot of them died from self-harming too much. It was really terrible. And a lot of these, nobody is to blame in this kind of situation, but nobody is the victim either. Everyone just had issues. Some people had it worse than me in the community. Like, some people were sexually abused as children. Some of them were physically abused or like mentally abused by their parents. Some were kicked out of their house for having a mental illness. Some of them were like being physically attacked at school. I was one of the few lucky ones that only had to deal with verbal insults and occasional like mental breakdowns and occasional panic attacks. And that's what made me an easy target for bullying in that community, because I didn't have as much trauma, not nearly as much trauma as everyone else in that community did. A lot of people told me, like, oh, well, I had XYZ happen to me, so you shouldn't be feeling scared or sad, and you shouldn't be like so depressed because you have a lucky life. And yes, I do have a really wonderful life. However, I still have clinical depression, dude. I have like genetically induced depression, because depression and anxiety run in my family. Almost everyone in my family has depression and anxiety too. So yeah, and I'm the only one in my family who had self-harm issues, so I thought I was just this weird medical anomaly until I discovered that community. And then I ended up becoming extremely competitive with other people in that community. And I would be like, hey guys, look, I went deeper. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Because when you fuck around with self-harm, you could become addicted really quick. I know from personal experience. And that shit just fucked me up a lot. It fucked me up so bad. But it was seriously fucked up, dude. Um I kind of discovered the pro self-harm community by accident. And how I discovered it was um I still am in the creepypasta fandom and the FNAF fandom. Well, not so much the FNAF fandom, because the FNAF fandom was the fandom that I discovered the pro self-harm shit from. Oh yeah, and also Undertale too. But I don't blame those fandoms. I blame the people in it, because they should not have been promoting self-harm, especially to other kids in that fandom that were like really young and really easily influenced to like do horrible things to either themselves or others. And unfortunately, I was one of those people that were vulnerable enough to fall into that trap, basically. And a lot of the people in that community are undiagnosed autistic, or they're not diagnosed with like a disability or mental illness, and a lot of them turn to self-harm as a way to cry out for help and to cope and to deal with their emotional shit, like their emotional baggage. And I had a lot of emotional baggage at the time because I was being bullied. There was at the time a recent rumor that people were like basically spreading rumors that I did drugs or that I was a prostitute. And which is not true. I don't do drugs. My teeth are just crooked because I have too many. I have too much teeth. That's my problem. Not the lack of teeth. Yeah, what those like fandoms, well, not fandoms, what the toxic people in the fandoms did, what they did to the younger people in the fandom. They were like 18 or 19-year-olds, I think, that were like promoting self-harm and eating disorders. What they did was extremely fucked up. But they were probably mentally fucked up as well, which is why I can't bring myself to blame them, if that makes sense, because I feel like they were also mentally fucked up just like the rest of the people in that community, myself included. But yeah, there would be quotes, pro self-harm quotes such as "I'm broken" or like "I'll hurt myself before you hurt me," and other shit like that. It was horrible. I can't say what exactly I also saw too much because it could probably potentially cause me to get my video taken down. I already had to censor one particular image I showed because it showed actual fresh cuts. So I had to censor that because I didn't want to like show that shit on YouTube. It's one thing if it's like scars, but it's another thing if they're like fresh, if that makes any sense to people. Because on YouTube's community guidelines, there's nothing wrong with showing scars, but if it's a fresh wound, it's not allowed on there, basically. That community just like, it fucked me up. And what's worse is that Tumblr is not even putting in enough effort to try to like get these people help. And like there isn't enough people getting other people help without a fuck ton of like basically they make therapy so fucking expensive. They make therapy so fucking expensive to the point where not many people can get therapy and not many people can get the proper diagnosis they need. And not many people can get the help they need because capitalism, okay? Let's be real. It's the government's fault, okay? When I was 15, what made me decide to leave the pro self-harm community is honestly like when people started telling me to basically like, I know this is gonna sound weird, but they actually kind of in a way kicked me out. Like they're like, you're too chicken to go deeper. And then I was like, fine, I guess I'll leave this damn community then. But that was my story of how I was in a self-harm community, pro self-harm specifically. Now I'm in a pro self-harm recovery community, which is amazing because a lot of us help each other to try to recover from self-harm. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!